Welcome to Shockwave Updates. US President Joe Biden has abandoned his re-election bid following overwhelming pressure from fellow Democrats and endorsed his Vice President Kamala Harris to succeed him, saying it was in the best interest of my party and country for me to stand down. President announced his decision to quit the race in later published to social media on Sunday, throwing this year's White House contest into the turmoil with less than 4 months to go until voters in the world's biggest economy elect a new leader on November 5th. Let's know more.
Morning, and a lot of it's happening on social media.
Well, you have to jump in the shower very, very quickly and rush into work. and stay across social media, because this was a story that almost entirely played out there. First, obviously, that statement from Joe Biden dropping, saying that he wasn't going to seek re-election. And it was by staying glued to your phone and across social media that we saw the messages of support coming in for Kamala Harris, and the fact that Joe Biden was backing Kamala Harris to be his vice president. All of the people congratulating Mr. Biden on everything he's achieved in office and on his decision to step down, people calling him a great patriot, for instance, to choosing to do that. Everybody doing it by statement. And I have to say, the flurry that came in so fast for Kamala Harris did look as though some people maybe had been ready for this moment. But it was exciting as it unfolded. But we still actually haven't really heard from quite many people at all.
And also, Justin, what's weird for me as an observer of this stuff is that American politics and constitutional life is normally so visual and based around events and like an address from the Oval Office. This is all just seems to be sort of happening in the ether.
Ending his re-election bid while endorsing her as the new Democratic nominee for the 2024 U.S. presidential election. In a post on X, Vice President Harris said, quote, "On behalf of the American people, I thank Joe Biden for his extraordinary leadership as President of the United States and for his decades of service to our country. I am honored to have the president's endorsement, and my intention is to earn and win this nomination." Now, a source has told the BBC that following the endorsement, Vice President Harris to key Democratic officials, to lawmakers, to governors to secure support. This all follows President Biden's announcement on X, where he said, quote, "It has been the greatest honor of my life to serve as president, and while it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term." And he added, "I will speak to the nation later this week in more detail about my decision." And in a separate post, he said, quote, "Today, I want to offer my full support and endorsement for Kamala to be the nominee of our party this year." Now, the 81-year-old president, Republican opponent Donald Trump, in late June, a number of Democrats called for President Biden to end his campaign, and Democratic donors also threatened to pull funding. Now, former President Trump reacted on Truth Social, saying, quote, "Crooked Joe Biden was not fit to run and is certainly not fit to serve and never was. He only attained the position of president by lies, fake news, and not leaving his basement. All those around him, including his doctor and the media, knew that he wasn't capable of being president, and he wasn't." He went on to say, quote, "We will suffer greatly because of his presidency, but we will remedy the damage he has done very quickly, make America great again." And our news partner, CBS News, also got some reaction from the former president. In a phone conversation with CBS News chief election and campaign correspondent Robert Costa, Mr. Trump said, quote, "Well, I think he's been the worst president in the history of our country. What he's allowed to happen to our country at the border, in Afghanistan, and so many other things. He's been a disaster, the worst president we've ever had. So I think it's good for the country." Earlier, I asked our correspondent Nomia Iqbal about the endorsements the vice president has so far.
Yes, you have this group of governors that were suggested as potential contenders. Joe Biden's throne. You had the governor of California, Gavin Newsom. He is backed Kamala Harris tonight. You have the governor of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro, who is backed Kamala Harris tonight. You have the governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer, who has not explicitly endorsed Kamala Harris. And then you have the Kentucky governor, Andy Beshear, who hasn't explicitly endorsed Kamala Harris. We'll have to see what happens in the next few days and few weeks. I think the Democratic Party will absolutely want to unify behind one candidate. They've been in such disarray over the last few weeks, whilst the Republican Party has really coalesced around Donald Trump. We saw that at the Republican National Convention. And what they'll want to do is get back to focusing on the issues, and rather than the focus being on is President Biden fit to run for the White House, they want the focus to be on is Donald Trump fit to run for it.
Nomi, as you're there outside of the White House, can you give us a sense of what people there are saying? Of course, they're not necessarily voters, they have tourists from around the world, but what is the atmosphere there?
It was really busy here. I mean, it always is. It is the summer, it's the weekend, but you had so much, of course, and people were coming up to us and asking us what was happening, and in shock that Joe Biden has stood down. There were a group of people outside the White House that were saying, thank you, Joe, that he did the honourable thing, they say. And yesterday there had been this protest outside the White House called Pass the Torch, group of voters who backed the Democratic Party, who felt that it was time for Mr. Biden to step aside. I did speak to one woman who is a Donald Trump supporter, and she did say that she thinks that Biden has been pushed out, but she believes that Donald Trump will beat whichever Democratic candidate they put forward.
And more prominent Democrats in Congress are coming out in support of Ms. Harris's bid for president, including progressives in the party. In the last hour, Senator Elizabeth Warren from Massachusetts and Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez endorsed the vice president on X. Senator Warren touted the vice president's legislative agenda, emphasizing her role in protecting abortion rights. As she said, quote, Kamala has been a ferocious warrior on the issue of abortion. And under Kamala's leadership, we are going to get Roe v. Wade back into the law of the land. Representative Ocasio-Cortez pledged her full support to Ms. Harris, saying, quote, now more than ever, it is crucial that our party and country swiftly unite to defeat Donald Trump and the threat to American democracy. Their endorsements add to those from up